Hi everyone. So the schools have now been closed for 2 weeks, and we're just about to enter our third week of so-called school closures. And I've been speaking to lots and lots of families over the last 2 weeks about what is being offered for them. So I just wanted to do another little video update to just reflect back what most parents are telling me. I'm hearing a lot of common themes, and to just give some of advice and guidance if these themes also are relevant to you. So mostly what's happening is I'm hearing from parents who maybe have either been offered a place for their child in school or they haven't been offered a place for their child in school. So obviously where parents have been offered a place in school, either parents are saying, I'm really happy about that, and that works out relatively well, or parents are being offered a place in school and they're declining it because they feel that it would be much better for them, their family. It's their decision to keep their child at home because they can. And it's worth saying that children with an education, health and care plan have a right to have the provisions spelt out on their care plan still delivered. Whether that's in school or at home is something that it should be a discussion between the family and the school. So it might be that you either have not been offered a place in school, or you don't even want to have that place in school. So I would say, obviously, we've got the group of parents who have not been offered a place in school that feel that they just cannot manage at home, in which case I really urge you to get back in touch with the school, let them know how difficult things are, spell out what the difficulties are, and see if there's any way in which you could ask for that school place. And I would refer you back to the previous 2 videos that I've made on this topic, if that's what you want to do. But I think that the topic that I want to explore today is the one that I've heard most about, is where parents are not offered a place at school. They accept that, okay, it's just not going to be possible for my child to get that place at school, and we're going to tackle the remote learning, but are finding that the remote learning that's being offered by the school is not an appropriate match for the needs of their children. So one of the examples that I hear quite frequently is that maybe in the morning the school are offering a short video briefing for children, maybe a half an hour video briefing on what work needs to be done that day. And then the children then have had the explanation, they get on with the work for the day. But for many children with additional needs, they cannot access the teaching, they cannot understand the materials when it's delivered by this way to a whole group. And so what I'm hearing from some families, the schools are just saying, yeah, just listen to it back a few more times, or can't you listen to it and break it down for them? And of course, parents, I know, are going to be doing everything possible to try to help their children engage with that learning. But my point really is that if your child was in school and was not able to follow a group instruction, for example, then the solution to helping meet the needs of your child would not be to just give them the instruction more times in the hope that they'll eventually get it. And so this really goes to the heart of exactly why children with additional needs are negatively impacted by school closures. And it's important to try to keep the conversations open with schools to make sure that what you get in terms of the work and the provision for your school is still a good match for the needs of your child. And I've mentioned it before, I just want to refer back to it again, the 1989 Children's Act that says that a child should be taken to be in need if they are unlikely to achieve or maintain a reasonable standard of health or development without the provision of services made by the local authority, or their health or development is likely to be significantly impaired without the provision of the services. And for the purposes of this piece of legislation here, development means physical, intellectual, emotional, social or behavioural, and health means physical or mental health. So within the 1989 Children's Act, it's making this clear distinction about a child in need and the whole range of needs that the children might need. And this is reflected in the needs of the children that we're thinking about with additional needs. So all of those things need to be taken into account when the school is sending out work for your child. Now, what we can all understand is that we can all understand why SATs have been suspended this year, why there's not going to be any GCSE exams taking part, because every child and young person's learning is going to have been impacted by the COVID situation and school closures. That seems only fair. And we know that children's learning is going to be impacted by this. But what we can't accept is for our children with additional needs to have their actual development impaired by this, learning is one thing, you know, and of course that's not what we want. What we want is for children to continue to learn. But for children with additional needs, we can't have their actual health and their actual development negatively impacted because of an inadequate provision being made for them. Further down the line, children's learning will be something that can be rectified. Children can catch up. We can all catch up. There's no end date by which you've finally learnt everything. So learning is ongoing. But your development in childhood only happens once. And that's why it's super important that as parents and carers, we're having a good and honest and open communication with the schools about what our children need. Now, of course, we need to be mindful of just what enormous strain schools are under. They're at breaking point. Of course they are. And I totally sympathise with that, but we cannot have vulnerable children's needs and development negatively impacted because of an inappropriate provision. So, going back to my earlier example, if there is a video briefing for all pupils in your child's class for that day, and your child is not able to understand that or follow that instruction because they have maybe speech and language difficulties or social communication problems, or for whatever reason, attention and listening difficulties, there might be a range of additional needs that prevent your child from being able to understand and process the information in that briefing in the same way that other children do. So it would be perfectly reasonable to ask, well, could actually my child maybe have an additional one-to-one 15-minute briefing where the explanation is broken down in a way that my child can understand it? Could the work be delivered with a visual schedule or a visual work instruction that can help my child to understand it? So this is what I'm saying is just think about what additional tweaks you might ask the school for in order that your child can continue to access the learning opportunities that are being made available to them. And as always, if you've got any queries about this, any questions, you're having any issues at all in getting the right provision for your child, then please do get in touch with me, let me know. I'm continuing to do as many individual consultations as I can with families to make sure that you're able to have those conversations with confidence and in a positive and constructive way with schools. I hope this helps, and I hope that brings good news for the week ahead for you.